All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the next one I'm going to be bringing to the stage, a legendary American Republican political consultant, a key role of Republican presidents from Richard Nixon to Ronald Reagan to George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush, profiled in the Weekly Standard, the New Yorker, the Miami Herald in 2007 and 2008. He has written for the New York Times Sunday magazine, the New York Times op-ed page, and for Newsmax.com. Editor and publisher of StoneZone.com. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Roger Stone.
Wow. Now this is the real America. Today we're going to have some straight talk. First of all, I want to thank the Quincy Tea Party, specifically Steve McQueen, Carol Eamon, Alana Flynn, and so many others who worked very hard to pull this together. I want to thank Bill Hennessy for his leadership. Quincy is showing the way. As someone who, well, these guys, are you the guys who sent me an email? The Quincy Three. Ladies and gentlemen, the Quincy Three. Anyway, unlike Obama, we believe everyone should speak. We want to have a debate, but the White House tries to pretend that you don't exist. Don't you people know you're AstroTurf? This administration ignores a grassroots rebellion across America at their own peril. Now, as someone who has had a long career in American politics, I have to tell you that this is the most encouraging thing since I have seen since the end of the 1970s. You remember the 1970s, don't you? They told us that America's greatest days were behind us. They told us that we had to accept less. Wear a sweater, don't worry about energy costs. Just face up to the fact that America would no longer be a world power. America was on decline around the world, and our quality of life was in decline at home. Thank you, Jimmy Carter. And then I saw a grassroots rebellion called Reaganism. And I see that same fire, that same fight, that same patriotism, that same fervor here today. And for an old guy like me, this is the most encouraging thing I have seen for America, because it means that those who say we are going to shuffle off to socialism like the people in Europe are wrong. But it's very fashionable among the liberal elite to denigrate the Reagan years. The tax cuts were meaningless. The Republican tax cuts caused the deficit. Ladies and gentlemen, federal revenues went up every year of the 8 years Ronald Reagan was president. Federal deficits are caused by spending, not low taxes on the American people. The Obama administration has lost the lesson of the Reagan years. It's called the free enterprise system. Now those who say, well, you had 8 years of conservatism under George Bush, and conservatism has failed. My friends, this is very clearly not a Republican crowd or a Democrat crowd or an independent crowd or a conservative crowd. This is an American crowd. there is no doubt that when Republicans had the leadership in the White House and in Congress, we did spend more than we should have. Both parties, including my own, are complicit in what has happened to America. Because since Ronald Reagan was president, I'm sorry, conservatism in our domestic policy has not been tried and therefore has not failed. Now, I think it's funny that those on the left, the people who revere, they so revere the civil rights protests and anti-Vietnam War protests of the 1970s and the 60s. The anti-war movement, when it was them who were screaming the obscenities. But now, they say that you, all of you, well, most of you, were paid by the insurance companies to be here. Put up your hands. How many got paid to be here today? The HMOs, did they pay you? The insurance companies. Exactly. This is a real grassroots rebellion. And as I said earlier, this White House has their head in the sand.
A Republican paid my way.
Well, I'm not against any of my fellow Republicans, but I think that it's time for us to realize that to win an election, we have to reach beyond the base of us who believe and find independents and vegetarians and libertarians and maybe a vegan or two. You can get them out of their Volvos, get their sandals off them, turn off that classical music. No, the New York Times, the Washington Post, they told us you folks didn't exist. Rachel Maddow, Keith Olbermann, AstroTurf, they said, a confection. And this is why they're so wrong. Look at the mall in Washington, D.C. today where they say that 2.2 million Americans march for freedom. So I have lived in 4-year cycles, I guess, my entire adult life, having worked for 8 Republican candidates for President of the United States. And, of course, I've done so many things in my career that I'm very proud of. And I've done a few things that I'm probably not so proud of. As a Christian, nobody's perfect. But the thing I am proudest about is my role in helping ignite the Reagan Revolution. And I believe the Reagan Revolution was reignited here in Quincy in the shadow of where Abraham Lincoln, the founder, one of the founders of the Republican Party, and before that a good Whig, spoke of freedom, spoke of liberty. And I do believe in 2010 that this White House will sustain losses. But my friends, that is just the beginning of a tidal wave that is coming. Because by the end of 2011, this president, when it comes to taxes and spending, will have gotten everything he asked for and everything he wants. Trillions in new debt,